let's start with the biggest release of the week, and that was The Flash. Andy Muschietti's DCU, we'll call it reboot film. This is officially, I think, the last. I always mix this up, and I wish Cam were here because I know he's more in tune with like what James Gunn says on Twitter. But either The Flash or Blue Beetle is the official final movie of like the DCEU. I'm pretty sure it's The Flash, and Blue Beetle is going to be the first movie of the DCU. So
this is Aquaman 2 Erasure.
Yeah, this is the Aquaman 2 Erasure. So let's just get into The Flash. I will start with Seth. He was the lowest on it from all of us. I believe he gave it a 2.5. Cam and I both gave it a 4, and Tyler went with a 3. So we'll start with Seth. Seth, give us your just quick non-spoiler thoughts before we get into the spoiler section of the review.
Yeah, so I didn't hate it. I think it was interesting. I don't think it was a necessarily bad film. I think it had aspects that were good, but I also think it had aspects for me that I didn't like at all. I think The Flash struggles tonally, and I think it struggles to maintain a consistent tone throughout the emotional and comedic scenes. I will say some of the comedy actually worked for me, which is surprising. Ezra Miller is obviously, as we know, not a great person. I think we have to kind of say that, but they did do a pretty okay job as the Flash. I thought they were pretty good. As the Flashpoint paradox, I don't really know much about it. I haven't seen the Flash anything before. I haven't seen the show or the. Is there a really good animated film?
Very good animated film, yes.
Okay, yeah. I found this film to be evident that this was in a time crunch, that this was delayed. We speak about the elephant in the room. The effects were terrible for the most part, and Andy Muschietti can say that they were deliberate all he wants. They weren't.
That was such a funny comment of him to make.
It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
If he had said that like months before the movie was released, I would have been like, okay, maybe.
It'd still be a weird.
It would still be weird, but the fact that he said it like after Twitter exploded with like shitty CGI comments just makes it so, because he's acknowledging that the CGI is shitty, and he's trying to give us like the worst excuse possible as to why it was shitty.
Yeah, I didn't really. So the cameos are also one that's been going around Twitter is very controversial. Obviously, they used deceased actors. It's a weird one. I've said my opinion on cameos before. I do think cameos kind of, for me, and I know why people like cameos, and that's perfectly fine. Like, for example, I quite like Tobey Maguire in No Way Home. But it kind of gets to the point where I just become so tired of them, because a film will use the excuse of cameos to be lazy with the writing, just so they can get the viewers to be surprised by a cameo of a character who they liked in the past, such as well, I won't go into yet, because I think that
good catch.
Yeah, that was
great catch.
I just think that they use them as an excuse to be kind of lazy. I don't think. I obviously we'll go into this. We're going to suppose. I don't think the ending was just not good for me anyway. I know people like the ending, but I just didn't think it made any sense. And I just think it was overall a pretty lazy and underwhelming project. However, that's not to say there weren't good points. I think it was quite funny. The writers who obviously wrote Game Night and Dungeons and Dragons comedy, that comedy is going to work for me. It just will, because I thought Game Night was hilarious, or Dungeons and Dragons was hilarious, and I think this is hilarious. But I thought they're clearly skilled comedic writers, and you can tell that with some of the witty dialogue and screenplay. And I thought some of the sequences were cool. With Ben Affleck's Batman. Of my first experience with Ben Affleck's Batman, I haven't seen any of the films. I thought he was quite cool. I think most of it we kind of have to go into spoilers, because I want to say stuff about the cameos, stuff about the ending, but I'll kind of I'm like down the middle. I didn't hate it, didn't like it, just down the middle.
Tyler, spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, I'm at a 3-star on this, and this is a tough movie for me to rate, because there's a lot I really didn't like about it. The CGI I thought was just like unacceptably bad, and I get what Andy Muschietti's like trying to say, because I feel like what he's thinking is when everyone was complaining about the CGI being bad, and he's like, oh, it's from the Flash's perspective. I feel like he was thinking we only were complaining about when he was in that, like circular area where you see all the different universes, which like I get that, like that didn't bother me, but I'm like talking like all the fight sequences, like all the super speed, like everything, the CGI looked
the
bad.
end sequence for me.
Well, the whole first act I really didn't like either. The whole, everything that goes on in the first act, I just was like, it wasn't pulling me into the movie whatsoever. But, Seth already said the caveat, Ezra Miller is not a great person, but they really did do great. Like, I truly have no issues with their performance. That they had to carry the movie. For most of it, it was Ezra Miller carrying this movie. The trailers and all the discussion before it would make you think, and all the posters and promotional material make you think Batman is like just as big as a part of this as the Flash, which Batman's big in this, but I've seen the Flashpoint Paradox like George has, so obviously that's like integral to that story. But I think the Flash was a true Flash movie in my opinion. I feel like that there was so much about the family aspect. The two Ezra Millers, that was like a whole like hour of the movie was just them working together. And yeah, I don't know. I really thought they did a great job, and I was truly surprised by how much I liked their performance, because I really liked them in the Stanford Prison Experiment. Didn't love their performance in Perks of Being a Wallflower. Is like my least favorite part of the movie is their performance.
The Stanford Prison Experiment.
Yeah, great movie.
I don't remember as a
Seth, I think you would like that movie a great deal, if I'm being honest.
No, I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah. They're like the main villain, or like the main prison guard that.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
But the family message really worked for me here. The Sasha Kaye I thought was super wasted. I just didn't think we got much of her at all, and what we did get of her was super thinly written. And based on the promotional material, I thought we would have got a lot more of her. Michael Keaton was fine. I think a lot of people really, really loved Michael Keaton's, Batman in 1989, and the Batman Returns was his second one, right? So I think there's a lot of nostalgia.
I've never heard your thoughts on the. Do you like the original? Not the original, but the
1989
Tim Burton Batman.
Yeah,
I really like 1989. Didn't love Batman Returns. But yeah, I thought he was fine. He didn't like blow me away or anything, but. This is just a movie you could tell was just picked and prodded throughout the entire production process. You can see evidence throughout where it was picked apart. There's so many moments, especially in the first act, where especially Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman would be like talking, but it was just clearly like the mouth just was either CGI moving or whatever, because it just wasn't matching up with the words he was saying. Yes. So that looked quite bad. But yeah, the opening act didn't really work well for me. The ending I didn't love. CGI was awful, but then again, I sat there the entire 2 hours 20 minutes, and I was liking my experience and had a fine time with it. I wasn't like, please end this already. I was having a good time, and as much as I hate to say it, I think a lot of that has to do with just the ability Ezra Miller had to carry this movie. So I'm at a 3 out of 5. I'm very conflicted because there's so much I hate and there's a lot I really liked, but I kind of landed somewhat in the middle.
Yeah, I'm a little higher than both of you. I went with 4 out of 5 stars, and that didn't go up or down after my second viewing, which I was a bit surprised about. Honestly, I really expected it to move in.
I'm intrigued to know what obviously you can go to spoilers and what the difference was.
Yeah. So for you guys, everyone listening, the reason Seth asks that is because I had seen a cut of The Flash like a month ago or 3 weeks ago. That wasn't the official cut. Before that movie played, there was a video from Andy Muschietti that basically said, this is not the final version that audiences will see on June 16th. So immediately I kind of like reserved like fully rating this movie. I gave it a 4 stars because that's how I felt walking out of the theater, but I truly expected it to go up or down when I had seen the final cut. There was essentially no difference between the final cut and what I had previously seen. There was one difference. I'm sure there were some small CGI changes here and there, but I did not notice them, so they didn't really affect my viewing experience. When we get into spoilers, I'll tell you what the one scene that was added into the second time I saw it. But again, that one scene did not change my experience with the movie. It didn't make it better or worse. But yeah, the glaring issue is the CGI for me, particularly that baby scene. I thought that was a miserable watch. I like the idea of it. I feel like every superhero movie has like that intro where they're like fighting a villain that has just nothing to do with like the overall plot of the movie. It's just introduce the characters, introduce the setting, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It was a very interesting decision to make him do something as crazy as save a bunch of falling babies from a building. And it just didn't work for me. I thought it was definitely funny in showing like how he needs all these calories to like operate the Speed Force and slow down time and move faster. I thought that was like a cool little addition to that scene. But yeah, the CGI is the glaring issue, and there were definitely a lot of moments that kind of removed me from the scene. And a lot of people are like in defense of Andy Muschietti. They're like, yeah, well, if that's true that the CGI sucks because you're seeing it from Flash's perspective, then it's like, okay, so why didn't the CGI suck in the Speed Force in like Zack Snyder's Justice League? Because I think it looks fairly decent in like the go back in time scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think Zack Snyder pulled that off pretty well. But yeah, I think this movie also just has a lot of fantastic character moments. And I hate to be that guy when talking about it, but like, I truly think if you guys had like a little more experience with Flash graphic novels and Flashpoint Paradox stories, I think you would have enjoyed this a little bit more, because I do think this movie does a lot right in that sense. And there were just some fantastic character moments between the two Barrys, between Barry and Keaton's Bruce Wayne that I just absolutely loved. I do agree Supergirl was underused like crazy, because I do think she was one of the best parts of this movie. But yeah, overall, I went with a 4 out of 5. The CGI didn't remove me as much as it seems to have removed everyone else, strictly because I could appreciate how daunting of a task it is to translate the Flashpoint Paradox into live action. And I think they upheld a decent story that kept me engaged throughout. And yeah, we'll go into the cameos. Didn't much care for those at all. And I kind of think they're a little disrespectful, for being honest. But yeah, I went with a 4 out of 5. I'll wrap up my non-spoiler talk there, because we will get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen The Flash yet and you don't want it to be spoiled, I don't know, skip ahead like 20 minutes or something, maybe a little.
The timestamps are in the description as always, so you'll know exactly where to jump ahead.
Timestamps in the description as always. Shout out to the best producer on the planet. So let's just get into it. We'll start right there with the cameos. And again, please just skip ahead. I'm literally about to spoil the fuck out of the cameos. So goodbye. So we'll start with the cameos, obviously, because that's one thing that all three of us mentioned. The Christopher Reeves cameo was brutally disrespectful. And it's one of those things where, I don't know if you guys remember in Rogue One, where they had Grand Moff Tarkin, and that wasn't like him. That was basically a body double, and they like overlaid CGI to make it look like him. And I think that was done in a very respectful way, because it looked like him, it sounded like him, it acted like him. This shot of Christopher Reeves, when I saw this originally in the uncut, like in the non-final version of The Flash that I saw, I truly thought that was going to be like a part of the CGI that they would enhance. So when I saw it again with the official cut of the film, I was stunned that they left that as glaringly horrific in the movie. And then obviously we also got Nick Cage, we got the OG Flash, we got a
Matt
couple
Reeves
of
as well.
Yes, exactly.
Was one of the big like controversial ones, I think.
Yep. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I can see it, like you're trying to show the multiverses coming together, so why not just show all the other versions of these characters? But it was just done in such like it felt very rushed. It felt like they had made this scene of all of like those spherical multiverses coming together, and then they watched this scene back, and it felt like they were like, oh, well, what can we do to just make this scene like a tiny bit more exciting for the audience members? Okay, let's slap Nick Cage here. Let's slap Christopher Reeves here, blah, blah, blah. So I freaked out over Nick Cage. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I didn't. I thought that was
I didn't
cool,
know
actually.
He ever played Superman. That was something I was just like...
He didn't. He never
didn't.
played Superman.
Yeah.
Tim Burton was going to make a Superman movie. So there's like,
Gotcha.
if you could look it up on YouTube. There's
He
like
never played him.
yeah, there's like test screenings of Nick Cage in a Superman suit. And that's it. Like it was never a movie or anything. It was just a concept that just never followed through.
Okay, that's kind of a fun cameo then. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I thought that was a very cool cameo, but like the Christopher Reeves cameo just felt disrespectful in my mind. Seth, I'll turn it over to you. I know you're not the biggest on cameos, and I will agree with you. I think the more cameos we get in these movies, the less like appealing and cheer worthy they're going to be going forward. Like I think Andrew and Toby in No Way Home was great, because at that point we were never like riddled with cameos left and right. So it was super cool, obviously, seeing, you know, all three of our Spider-Men from different universes coming together. But now we're just oversaturating the cameos and they're kind of like losing their appeal.
Yeah. I think I said Matt Reeves before. That's not, I meant George Reeves.
George Reeves, yes. I didn't
the-
catch that either.
Yeah, who was the I can't remember where he came up now. Obviously, he had a cameo.
Yeah, I was confused
saw
on
a lot
that.
of people-
I just let it go. I was like, wait, the director of the Batman was in this?
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, maybe I missed it.
There's so many Reeves, man. Jesus.
Chunk, yeah.
So yeah, George Reeves. There's a lot of like stories about him. So obviously, George Reeves allegedly killed himself after playing the Batman in the late 50s. I believe.
Oh no, we're losing Seth a bit.
We're losing Seth.
Due to his bear with.
All right, I think you're back. Give it another.
Yeah,
go.
you're good.
Sorry, I had to just apparently wait. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can.
My internet's wrong. So what was I saying?
George Reeves apparently
George
killed himself
Reeves.
after playing
Matt
Batman.
Reeves. No shit, George Reeves. Okay, yeah. I can't remember. So many Reeves.
A chunk.
George Reeves.
George Reeves.
So yeah, George Reeves apparently allegedly killed himself after playing Superman due to his inability to find work and his career trajectory. However, there's a lot of skeptics about that. There's a lot of different stories, scenarios, whatever, and a lot of people find that disrespectful, which I completely understand. I do think there is a disrespectful use of cameos, and it's just playing this up to show a surprise for the viewer and to kind of, I don't know, man. I just don't like them. I do think the Nicolas Cage one is kind of fun.
He's cutting out for you too, right?
Yeah, it's starting to cut out again.
Like stupid, it's Nicolas Cage. What's not to like there? But in time,
Seth, you're cutting out. Like, oh,
All right, he's leaving. I'm guessing he's gonna come and rejoin. But just jumping in on the cameos, like, so I don't know where I land on the Christopher Reeves one. It definitely wasn't tasteful how they did it, but I'll reserve my judgment for the disrespectful aspect because I don't know what happened behind the scenes with Warner Brothers. Like, did they go to his family and they gave the okay and they got like a royalty check from it and they were like, yeah, this is like acceptable. If they did that, then like, yeah, I didn't think it was tasteful, but at least like they went to the family and like got approval. So I don't know where it landed. Like for Fast and Furious users. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if the Fast and Furious brings out like Paul Walker, I'm giving that movie a half star.
Well, like they did for Fast 7 after he died, but that's because they used his brother as the body double. That's because
they used his brother.
family.
Yeah. The only reason I'm throwing out the word disrespectful is because, like, that's Christopher Reeves. People argue him to be the best Superman of all time. That's a super plausible argument. I put Henry Cavill above him, but like, he's one of the most iconic figures in superhero media that we've ever seen, and you're bringing him back to unfinished CGI, and it just felt like it was there just for like a crowd cheer-worthy moment. Like, at least buckle up the CGI a little bit. I don't know. It just felt so out of place. It truly felt like they finished the entire movie and they were like, where the fuck can we just stick Christopher Reeves? Like, it doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter if he says nothing. Where can we just throw him? And like, this is the return, like I said, of one of the most iconic figures in superhero media. Like, some people hold him as highly as they hold Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine or Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. Like, he's up there with the greats of castings. So like, to bring him back after decades in like this fashion just felt so out of touch, and it just felt like, again, disrespectful. I don't know. That's just how I see it. Like, that was the one cameo that I did not freak out over just because of how poor it looked and like how in bad taste it felt.
No, yeah, I totally agree, and I can totally see why it's so disrespectful, and I get why everyone got upset about it. Like, pretty lame that everyone like was tweeting it like insanely amount. Like, it was like just everywhere over Twitter like before the movie came out. But I get it. They're like, if you're going to be disrespectful, we'll be disrespectful to your movie. Like, I can kind of slide with that. But yeah, do you want to jump into the other cameos, or do you have anything else about Chris Reeves and George Reeves?
No, I'm done with Chris Reeves. So the one, just to bring it up, just because we were just talking about it. So the one scene that that wasn't in the original cut that I saw, that was in the second cut. So in the original cut, when Barry, at the very end of the movie, Barry's on the phone with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's car pulls up, and you see Bruce Wayne's foot, and you don't see who it is. All you see is it cuts back to Barry, and Barry says, "Who the fuck are you?" But we don't see who it is. And then in the final cut that I watched, obviously it's George Clooney, which again, like, I never loved George Clooney as Batman. I think he does a very fine job as Batman. I think he does a great job as Bruce Wayne. So like, that's another cameo I didn't freak out over. The only reason I like wasn't caught off guard, but I did think it was a cool cameo because it opens a lot of doors into like, where's the DCEU going next? Like, because he's still not in his universe, you know, he still fucked up the timeline. Obviously, the post-credit scene, he's trying to explain to Aquaman that. So the only reason I enjoyed that little cut of George Clooney is because it made my mind wander like crazy on like, where are we taking this franchise? Where are things going with how The Flash ended? And that's why I said a week or two ago, whenever I talked about The Flash, I had mentioned that this movie does kind of set up, it does feel like a soft reboot because of the way it ended. And that was even before I knew it was George Clooney. I still said, like, okay, they're hiding that man's face for a reason. It's not Ben Affleck. So yeah, it was cool. I did for a second think that that would be like the big announcement on who the Batman is going to be in Brave and the Bold, which is why the addition of George Clooney just adds so many layers of questioning to like, where the fuck are we going with this? I don't know how you felt about the George Clooney cameo. I don't know if there's any specific topics we want to talk about with The Flash. Otherwise, we'll just kind of keep running through the big moments.
No, yeah. So welcome back, Seth. So
Welcome back.
George Clooney, the thing that pisses me off about his cameo is that he's like fully white hair and white beard at this point, just keeps getting older, but he still looks so damn good. And I was like, God damn it, he looks so freaking handsome. And you're like, how
still recording?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, you're
like,
good.
It's like, how long can you just be like a good looking man? Like, I was just like, God damn. But the thing is, like, I don't even know. Like, I didn't feel that like closure of like that this is resetting the universe. I feel like if you're gonna pick up the story here, like, there's still an Ezra Miller, Barry Allen floating in a universe somewhere out there. So the fact, like, if you're going to recast Ezra Miller, don't really know how this movie sets you up for that. And also, I would assume, like, when people were saying this is going to reset the DC universe, that it was going to be, like, the end of this movie was going to be, like, him just breaking the multiverse and everything just, like, shatters and just kind of, like, everything goes to scratch or something, which then, again, you need to pick up the pieces there, too. But I feel like at this point, we just know that Ezra Miller is in George Clooney's Batman universe now, so none of the other Justice League that we know and love are with him. But like, I don't know, like I feel like, or Aquaman. So Aquaman's there, but it's George Clooney.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah,
it
I don't know.
Feels like
how
a
this
weird
works,
way. Yeah,
it's very interesting because like to go the route of recasting Ezra, like it would be understandable because this movie clearly establishes that like, every multiversal Barry Allen or Bruce Wayne doesn't look the exact same. Obviously, you have Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, George Clooney. They're not the same looking person. So I don't know. Maybe down the line, there's a future where another Barry Allen, not Ezra Miller, fucks up his timeline and ends up in James Gunn's DC universe. So I don't know. I've been like running through the possibilities in my head ever since I saw this movie. That's why I really do like that ending of bringing George Clooney in. Not because I like the George Clooney cameo, but just because it opens so many doors and so many questions. And it's like, it's making me excited at like, okay, where are we going here? Like, how is this going to play into each other?
Right. And like,
have we spoken about the ending yet?
That's what we're talking about, right? Well, we're talking about just like the George Clooney ending and that coming in.
Yeah.
But
so
like,
let's go.
I was just gonna say, so we knew, I don't know, there was only two possibilities for that Batman could be, because everyone pre-Michael Keaton is just simply too old. They couldn't have them be in there. And then
it was never going to be Christian Bale.
Right. But like Val Kilmer, obviously
never.
We know Val Kilmer's current health state, not going to be him. But yeah, if it like, I've never ever in my life once cheered at a movie. Like, I don't like try to hold it back. It's just nothing ever's drawn me to cheer. But if it was Christian Bale, I probably would have lost my fucking
I would have lost my shit.
But
I don't think that was never going to happen.
I don't think it would have been
Christian
possible
Bale's,
too, because that would have been for sure spoiled everywhere on Twitter before the movie ever even came close to releasing. thing. So
also, Christian Bale's been very adamant over the years that he would return as Batman Bruce Wayne only if it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
That's the only way he will return. So I don't know, because the only reason I see a possibility in Christian Bale returning is because Christopher Nolan produced Man of Steel. So maybe down the line, if he has any producing credits on any other DCU movie, maybe he'll be like, yo, Christian, weasel your way in here, bro.
Well, and we know that Warner Brothers is like trying desperately to get him back. So that would obviously need to be
Nolan
a big thing
back.
in order for him to ever do anything with the DCU. They would need to be on Warner Brothers. And apparently they said he's doing they're doing post-production work for Oppenheimer from Warner Brothers a lot, and they're like paying him millions of dollars for Tenet. So they're trying to get him back. So if they get him back, then I would start to believe the maybe possibilities more.
If it's ever announced, and we're going off topic a little bit, but if it's ever announced that Christopher Nolan is doing like a Dark Knight Returns movie with an older Christian Bale Bruce Wayne, that would be my most anticipated movie of all time.
Maybe
ever.
same, and I'm not even close to your love for the Dark Knight trilogy, but I'd still probably be
unbelievable. Oh my! I would be boned out until the release of that movie just thinking about it. Respectfully to all my listeners.
Going back to like the Flash and the cameos, so I wouldn't call the beginning with like obviously Ben Affleck and then Wonder Woman cameos, because like we've seen the Flashpoint Paradox. We know it starts off with the Justice League saving the day, but Wonder Woman's one woman, other than just like Gal Gadot being awesome, is that she's someone I'll never get upset about a cameo for her, because every time you see her and that freaking score plays, that electric guitar riff, I'll eat it up every time. I don't care. I just love that score so much. I love that electric guitar riff. So just throw her, like you threw her in Shazam, throw her in this. It's just like, we just need her for 2 seconds just so I can hear the da-na-na-na-na-na. That's all I want. And then I'm happy.
They're not cameos, obviously. And that's one part that I just can't stand people getting upset about, because they're not. Like, if you watch the Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie, you'll know that like, the Flashpoint Paradox animated movie starts with every single member of the Justice League.
And the cameos to me.
Well, yeah,
like,
it can't be a cameo if they live in that universe too. It can't be a cameo.
Yeah,
like,
they live.
No Way
in
Home.
That
they came from a different universe. Whereas like these are people that live in that city, like chilling.
Yeah, like they're there. Obviously, if there's like fucking crime in Gotham, we're gonna see Batman. But yeah, let's touch on the ending, because that is one of the parts of the movie that holds it back for me. This movie was definitely a Barry Allen movie, like Tyler said. Like, a lot of people are coming out of it saying, oh, it's a Batman movie. It's Michael Keaton's Batman movie. I don't see that at all. This entire movie was Barry Allen. So I understand the lack of a villainous presence, and I think that's one part of this movie that really bothers me. Obviously, there are villains. There's General Zod. There's the Dark Flash. So, like, we have two villains, but none of them feel like they're fleshed out or blah, blah, blah. They just feel like they're standing there just to give Barry added conflict on top of breaking the multiverse. And that's one thing that bothered me, especially when we get to that ending. Everything feels like it got resolved way too fast. From the time Barry meets face-to-face with Dark Flash with other Barry to the time where, you know, the timeline is, in quotes, fixed, it just moved way too fast for me. And it didn't feel like there was, I don't know, enough stakes, blah, blah, blah. It moved way too fast for me. And I understand the lack of a villainous presence, because this is a Barry Allen movie. This movie is more about this superhero's internal conflict as opposed to, you know, a villainous conflict. And I think they got that part of the movie very right. It felt very much like Spider-Man No Way Home, how, yeah, there are villains, but this is a Peter Parker internal struggle movie. And I think they do a good job in No Way Home at displaying that. But in The Flash, it's the villains for me. There's just nothing that I liked about any of Zod's appearances or the Dark Flash's appearances. I wanted more, and I wanted that resolution to kind of be dragged out a little bit more. It just felt very fast. Seth, I know you've been wanting to talk about the ending, so what are your thoughts on that?
Pretty much the same as you, to be honest. I just found the ending to be really rushed and very lazy. And I echo what you're saying. It's like with the villains, they're just there. Gentleman Wizard and obviously Dark Flash, and then it's just there, and it's just going from one point to the other and having to try and find a focal point to conclude this film, which I don't think was done well. I think it felt like something that was delayed. It felt like something that was true. They were in a time crunch for, and yeah, like it just the final the battle sequence was just bizarre to me. It's so alien. It's so stupid. It goes from, like you said, George, nothing to something. It's so rushed, and it goes from point A to point B so quickly, just so they can resolve this conflict. That, let's be honest, I don't care about, and most people watching don't care about this conflict. It's more like George said, the internal conflict with Barry. I don't think we needed a fight sequence of this, I guess, scale, especially one that looked, in my opinion, pretty terrible most of the time. I don't think we needed it. I don't think we needed a big fight sequence. I think it was anticlimactic. I think it looked bad. And yeah, it felt rushed. And I don't think it was needed, to be honest. But that's just my point anyway.
Yeah, that's like the one thing, because I really do, and I understand all of like the criticisms, like tonally this movie maybe doesn't make sense every so often, although I think the second act of the movie absolutely nails the tone. From the time Barry meets Barry, they go to Bruce, they break out Supergirl from the prison. I think tonally the second act of this movie is fantastic. The first one is kind of all over the place, and the third one, obviously we just discussed, just feels just completely erratic. But yeah, it's a very interesting decision making on their part to kind of send them into just this open field of CGI cluster shit. And then also, a little off topic, I don't know if you guys noticed the scene where Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne flies his ship into the other ship and sacrifices himself. That was in the trailer. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that was in the trailer. It's like a very split second. You see the bat ship go into the thing and explode, and you see Barry sitting there like looking up at it. So that was weird.
I didn't know that. It's fun.
But yeah, is there anything else we want to touch on? I don't want to spend too much time on the Flash just because we have 5 other things to review.
Yeah, I just have a couple more things. So again, like I thought the emotion worked really well, just because I know there's a lot of people out there that really like this movie, and it can be a little disheartening to see literally everyone on Twitter seems like just shitting on it. So if you liked it, there's nothing wrong with that, and I can see a lot of reasons why people would like it. I really did enjoy the final scene when Barry went to his mother. Like I thought the emotion worked for me there with the whole like grabbing the can of tomatoes real solemnly and softly, and she's like, "Do you need a hug?" I'm like, damn, this hitting pretty hard. Like I thought they did that well, and there's so much they did do well, but the villains were the big problem. Like I don't even know if I liked or disliked Dark Flash. I just didn't retain anything about Dark Flash. Like I feel like that all happened so fast, like that I just like by the time Dark Flash was there and gone, I was like, what even just happened? Like I was like, it kind of took me by a whirlwind. I was like, dude, I didn't absorb any of that. It just happened like in such a split second. I was like, what's even going on here? But yeah, the villains I just thought were worthless because like General Zod and all that was like dumb. Like I thought they really nerfed Superwoman. I get it. Like no matter what, like they were saying, the spaghetti, like no matter what, she has to die there. But it basically just showed that like no matter how many times they reverse it, she's gonna find some stupid way to lose a fight when she's supposed to be so badass. Speaking
of the spaghetti, by the way, that was, I don't know how you guys felt. That was such a clever way and such a simple way of describing the multiverse. And like it made sense to me. Bro, it made so much sense. It was like the most simple, easy way of describing the multiverse. And it's like, it reminded me of Endgame, where they just like try to explain time travel. And it's like, who cares? You don't need to do this. Like time travel, we're just going to accept it for what it is. Like the Flash could have easily been like multiverse, just whatever. It's not real. Just accept it for what it is. But I like that they took the time to like give us that very simple breakdown of the multiverse just to help us like a little bit understand what's going on. And I don't know, while Keaton was like explaining that with the whole bowl of spaghetti, I was like, this is like really clever of them to do. I don't know how you guys felt, but I don't know. That's how I walked away from it. My
favorite point of the film, so I actually didn't like the ending very much, the scene with his mom. It just didn't work for me at all. It felt for me like something I've seen multiple times, but I definitely understand why people liked that, like Tyler and probably George. George, did you like the ending?
I liked it a little bit. I thought the emotion worked a little bit for me.
Okay. So, by the way, did you guys recognize the mum?
I didn't.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't.
Yeah, it's her.
Yeah. Yeah, and my favorite point of the film was probably the second act, because I actually probably enjoyed the comedic aspects a lot more than I did the emotional aspects. And when they did meet Keaton, I like Michael Keaton's Batman. I'm not gonna, it's not really. I mean, it is a cameo, but it's something we already knew going in, obviously, through the trailers. I like Michael Keaton's Batman. I like Michael Keaton. I just thought it was kind of cool when they met him. I quite like that scene. I quite like the whole the middle section, like George said. And I think that's where the comedy shone through and the writing shone through. But the emotional part just didn't really work for me. But I liked, the second act was kind of the most tonally structured. I think George said that as well.
George, if I'm not mistaken, in the Flashpoint Paradox, isn't like Michael Keaton's Batman? Like, wouldn't that have been Thomas Wayne? I swear, wasn't it like? Okay.
Yeah.
Because like Bruce Wayne isn't in that multiverse in the Flashpoint Paradox, right? It's his dad, and Bruce Wayne and his mother were the ones who died in the alley instead.
Yep. Exactly.
I kind of would have wished. I was hoping they were going to go that route in this, because I feel like it would have been a cool motivation to have his son and wife die instead of like it.
When did the Flashpoint Paradox come out? Paradox?
Like 10 years ago? I don't know.
Yeah, a while ago. Seth, you should watch it, honestly. I think you would enjoy that animated movie.
I have been trying to get into, like, I want to watch what's that Batman one you always speak about? Phantasm?
Mask of the Phantasm?
Yeah.
That's in my mind the best animated Batman movie we have.
How many is there?
Dozens.
A lot.
Okay, so I won't be watching all of them now.
A chunk. But all right, we'll wrap up our Flash review here. Like we said, we got 5 more reviews to power through. It's going to be a long episode, so if you're here for the long haul, thanks for sticking around. I go a 4 out of 5 on the Flash. I believe Cam also went with a 4 out of 5.
Yep.
Tyler went with a 3 out of 5.
I'm actually dropped it without telling us.
Oh, did he? To a 3.5?
Yeah. I was looking what we all rated it last night, and he dropped it.
Cam went with a 3.5 out of 5. Tyler went with a 3, and Seth went with a 2.5. Wow, we went right down the line. 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5. That's funny. We are joined by Cameron Walsh in the beautiful state of Florida. Hello, Cameron. How are you?
Hello.
Florida sucks.
Oh.
This place is
Fair. What part of
I'm
Florida
good.
are you in?
Hey, all. Hey, everyone. I'm back.
Okay, perfect timing, because we're going to get into our Extraction 2 review.
No. Let me give the Flash thoughts real quick.
Oh, okay. Cam's
I joined like 10 minutes ago, and y'all just chatted for 10 minutes. I was like, all right, I'll wait. Flash. All right. Real quick, Tyler. If you can like cut this into like the spoiler section of Flat, that would be great. I don't know what y'all said. I just have a couple points to make. Okay. Is that fine?
Yeah, just rattle them off. Just rattle them off.
Yeah, so the Flash, I enjoyed it. I gave it like a 74 out of 73 out of 100.
I was going to ask. I think you dropped from a 4 to a 3.5.
Yeah, so like as I thought about it, I was like, yeah, maybe I didn't enjoy that as much as, and I also enjoyed Extraction 2 more, but I didn't enjoy Extraction 2 more than Extraction, so I like it just trickled down, whatever. Trickle down economics, all that jazz. So spoilers of Flash, whatever. Skip ahead 5 minutes if you haven't seen it.
We're already in spoilers.
I didn't. I don't know where he's putting this. Super weird cameos, and my only opinion on it, everyone's all up in arms about it, freaking out about the cameos. You got Christopher Reeves, you got Matt Reeves, you got
George Reeves.
I did.
My bad. Matt Reeves.
No, we made the same mistake.
The Batman director. You got George Reeves, Christopher Reeves. You got Nick Cage's Superman, which if you have not seen, like the Death of Superman Lives documentary, I believe is it by Kevin Smith, or it's about the movie Kevin Smith was going to make? I forget. I haven't watched it in a long while. Really good documentary where Nick Cage almost played Superman, but also no one knows about that documentary for the most part. Like, it's not a well-known documentary. It's not a massive thing. So why add him in? Super weird. Why not throw Brandon Routh, who was Superman? Why not throw in Ezra Miller's Flash was in it? Why not throw in Grant Gustin's Flash, who's actually like beloved by most fans? Like my only issue with the cameos, people freaked out about how disrespectful it is. I don't think it is that. I'm sure they got approval from the families and everything, and that's really all you can do at that point is like, if the families are all right with it, like, yeah, it's a cool little tidbit, sure. But my only issue is why choose these cameos that don't like really matter at this point, aside from the cameos of people that are like still playing these characters. Like obviously the Flash TV show just ended. Why not throw Grant Gustin in there? That makes zero sense to me. And also, why are we having so many Superman cameos in a Flash movie? Like, I understand, like, I get the point of them. And I know Seth basically said he hates cameos, whatever. I'm not necessarily on that page, but these cameos just felt like worthless. Why not throw Tom Welling in there? Like, everyone loves Smallville. I just, like, the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths did a much better cameo fest than any of these. Like, I do not get it. Maybe they just didn't want to like do all of those same exact cameos, because Ezra cameoed on the CW show. And it's just, that makes no sense to me. Otherwise, movie was fine. I enjoyed my time with it. Ezra Miller, shitty person. I think they did a very good job in this movie, though. I'm going to be honest. Sasha Kaye was a standout for the like 5 minutes of screen time that she had, and Michael Keaton's Batman was awesome as well. A little goofy, but still awesome. I like to see him. Oh, also George Clooney cameo was a whatever cameo in my opinion, but that's my thoughts on it.
Okay,
I also don't know how long I have, so I just wanted to give my Flash thoughts.